Hello, once again, Kenny Jacobs from Bloomington, Illinois. Going to do another video this evening talking about current events as it relates to Bible prophecy. And I want to start off by giving a little background information. Really what this is all about is we've all heard this statement that truth is stranger than fiction. And this is a great example of that. Let's do a little background information on the Pope over the last few years. In January 2013, Pope Benedict released a dove of peace, and it was immediately attacked by a seagull. That was in 2013. Well, in January of 2014, Pope Francis released two doves of peace. One was immediately attacked by a seagull, and the other was immediately attacked by a black crow. On February 2013, within hours of Pope Benedict resigning, St. Peter's Basilica was struck by lightning. The day that the Pope arrived in Israel, Pope Francis, Israel had a 4.1 earthquake. And that same day, the One World Freedom Tower in New York City was struck by lightning again. Luke chapter 10, verse 18, Jesus said, "And I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven." Well, that's just a little background information. Heading up to this Sunday's peace prayer meeting for peace at the Vatican between Pope Francis, Mahmoud Abbas, and Shimon Peres, along with other Jewish, Muslim, and Christian participants. I'm calling this the Day of the Strange Fire, One World Government, One World Religion Peace Prayer Meeting, or in other words, the apostasy. And what's really amazing about that is that's on this Sunday the 8th. Well, guess what else is going to happen this Sunday the 8th? A gigantic asteroid is going to fly by Earth that day. And guess what the name of that asteroid is? The Beast. Isn't that amazing? You absolutely cannot make this stuff up. Like I said, truth is stranger than fiction. The Beast asteroid will pass by Earth the same day as this apostate prayer meeting. Okay, so let's look at a couple of more up-to-date news articles about this peace agreement, about this peace prayer meeting. And as I'm waiting for that to load, let's look at Revelation chapter 13 real quick, because it's going to talk about two different beasts. Revelation chapter 13 verse 1, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." And into verse 2 says, "And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority." Let's skip down to Revelation 13, verse 11, and it says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." The second beast is the false prophet, who will enforce the mark of the beast and cause all to worship the first beast, or the Antichrist. The Antichrist will be the end-time ruler of the one world government, and the false prophet will be the leader of the one world religion. And we're seeing this prayer meeting this Sunday, that's really geared to help form both the one world government, as he confirms a covenant with many, the Antichrist will, for the final 7-year period of time, the false peace agreement, And the false prophet will promote the final end-time apostate one-world religion. So here's an article out of the Jerusalem Post today. It says, Vatican insists Pope not meddling in Mideast politics with Perez Abbas invite. Pope Francis hopes an unprecedented meeting of the Israeli and Palestinian presidents at the Vatican on Sunday will help end eternal negotiations and lead to peace. But he has no wish to meddle in Mideast politics, the Vatican said on Friday. Well, he actually already is. One way he did that was he kept referring to the Palestinian state while he was in Israel. President Shimon Peres and Palestinian Authority head Mahmoud Abbas will pray for peace together following a surprise invitation by Francis that he made during the Holy Land last month. This is a moment to invoke God for the gift of peace. This is a pause in politics, says Father Pizzaballa, a church official in charge of Catholic sites in the Holy Land and a key organizer of Sunday's encounter. This is also an invitation to politicians to pause and look heavenward. Everyone wants something to happen, something to change. Everyone is tired of these eternal negotiations that never end. The two presidents will spend about 2 hours in the Vatican Gardens at an intricately planned service that will include prayers and meditations by Jews, Christians, and Muslims in each other's presence. The meeting taking place more than a month after U.S.-led peace talks collapsed amid bitter mutual recrimination, and Pizzaballa said the Pope hoped on Sunday the encounter would inject the leaders with a new will for peace. Pope Francis will never get involved in discussions about borders or settlements, but his intention is to help create the social and religious atmosphere where peace can come about. And here's the scariest, I guess, or the paragraph of this article. It says, there will be no political speeches, but each will pray for peace as individual believers. Pizzaballa said, adding that the structure of the prayer for each group would be identical to show that they are children of the same God. Again, the Muslims, the Christians, do not worship the same God. Here's another article today out of the Jerusalem Post. It says, despite suspension in talks, Perez gets okay to join Abbas and the Pope for prayer at Vatican. Says Perez will head an interfaith delegation and will call upon leaders of all faiths to work together towards interreligious dialogue. Says, despite Israel's objections to the Palestinian Unity Government, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and members of the government, realizing the historic importance of the occasion, gave President Shimon Peres the green light to accept the invitation of Pope Francis and travel to the Vatican on Sunday for an interfaith prayer service in the Middle East. Peres will head an interfaith delegation comprising rabbis, imams, and will call upon leaders of all faiths to work together to ensure that religion and the name of the divine creator will not be invoked as a means of justifying bloodshed and terror. It goes on, there's a lot of information on this. Goes on to talk about Shimon Peres trying to do some interfaith stuff back in 2009 and trying to organize peace. But I think the whole gist of this is simply that what this last paragraph said was that they want to work together to ensure that religion and the name of the divine creator will not be invoked as a means of justifying bloodshed and terror. And they're wanting to show that we all are worshiping the same God, which again is not true. And what the Muslims believe and what the Christians believe, and at this point what the Jews believe, are all not the same thing. The Jews do believe in the same God that the Christians do, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Allah. They just do not believe, obviously, that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. However, there are a lot of Jewish believers these days, and that number's growing. But I see. Here's where I see this going. They're going to say eventually that we all worship the same God. You cannot have an exclusive type of religion. You cannot claim that your ways, like for example, the Christians cannot say that Jesus is the only source of salvation, that He's the way, the truth, and the life, because that promotes hate. And they're going to say that that type of belief causes religious wars. And we can't have that anymore. So we're going to have this peace agreement that allows for the one world government and the one world religion so we can all coexist and get along just great. And that's exactly what the Bible says will happen in the end days. But still time, we still have to stand up for the truth of the gospel and the truth of Jesus Christ, regardless of whatever consequences that may bring us personally. I will put links to all of these articles in the description box for you. Here's an article that's just kind of interesting. Out of the Times of Israel today. Netanyahu loathes Obama. Israel's opposition leader charges. I can't say that I blame Netanyahu for loathing Obama, and want to let him know not to feel too bad because most Americans loathe Obama as well. But here's what it says. It says, the Prime Minister's hostility to President is endangering Israel's security, claims Labor's Isaac Herzog, in a rare confirmation of long-rumored strained ties between Netanyahu and Barack Obama. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu loathes Barack Obama, and his hostile attitude to the U.S. president constitutes a danger to Israel's well-being, the head of the Israeli opposition charged on Friday night in a highly unusual acknowledgement of the long-rumored strained personal ties between the two leaders. In a bitter verbal assault on the Prime Minister, Labour Party Chairman Isaac Herzog slammed Netanyahu for failing to listen to the international community, failing to present peace proposals of his own for an accord with the Palestinians, and failing to work properly with Obama. It was a tragedy that Netanyahu had not presented a peace plan and instead was dragged into responding to other proposals. The second tragedy that endangers the security of Israel is his loathing and hostility for Barack Obama. Describing this as one of Netanyahu's gravest failures, I don't know, I would call it one of Netanyahu's greatest moves. It might just be that he's a very good judge of character and knows it's not a good thing to divide the land of Israel, and knows, as most of us Americans know by now, you cannot trust Barack Obama. But anyway, just a very, very interesting article. But here we go again. We need to pray for Benjamin Netanyahu. What amount of pressure this guy is under. And he's got it coming at him from all sides. And it just looks like more and more like Israel is going to be pressured into dividing their land and agreeing to a peace agreement that will not be good for anybody concerned, including America, as we continue to meddle in that dividing up of the land. But what an interesting article that is. And again, I'll post that to the description box as well. Got one other thing I want to talk about real quick. This is concerning the Temple Mount and the Ark of the Covenant. And before I want to get into that, Hollywood has done a great job over the years of making two things. Here's an example of two things. The Ark of the Covenant and the Mark of the Beast. Hollywood has done a great job of convincing people that these are fictional stories, that they're a joke, that they're not real. But both are very much real. The Ark of the Covenant is somewhere, and the Mark of the Beast is on the way. In fact, again, many people would tell you that the RFID chip in the Obamacare Act may very well be the basis of the Mark of the Beast. Revelation chapter 13. It causes all, both great and small, free and bond, to put a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. They cannot buy or sell unless they have that mark. But here's a story out of the Prophecy Newswatch newsletter. Temple Mount Faithful lay claim to lost Ark, which again is the Ark of the Covenant. It says it happens relatively frequently. Every once in a while, some daring biblical researcher or pretentious archaeologist emerges to claim that he found a clue that will lead him to the Ark of the Covenant. According to Jewish tradition, the tables of the covenant on which the Ten Commandments are inscribed were kept in the Ark within the temple. On June 4th, the Jews celebrate Shabbat, which is identified with the Mount Sinai revelation. But those who continue the search for the Ark are not only Jews, the rest of the world has not yet abandoned the dream of finding the Holy Ark. In July 2013, in an archaeological dig in ancient Shiloh, traces were found linking the place to the site of the tabernacle, which housed the Ark of the Covenant until the construction of the temple. 2 years earlier, in 2011, it had been argued that a church in Ethiopia was a secret repository of the Ark. If you ask the Temple Mount faithful, the answer is fairly straightforward. The Ark is intact and well, securely protected within the Temple Mount itself. When we talk about the timing of the founding of the Third Temple, again, the Third Temple, they're talking about that. Rabbi Yeshua Friedman of the Temple Institute told me there are 10 studies about the location of the Ark of the Covenant. We read them and studied all of them, and reached the conclusion that it's buried in the tunnels under the Temple Mount. When the day comes, we will get to it. But anyway, here we go again, and this is a really long article, so I'll post it and you can read more about it. But again, we're hearing more and more talk about things like the Ark of the Covenant, the Temple Mount, and the Third Temple. And again, as Pope Francis, if he really does agree in religious freedom and human rights and peace and wanting peace between the Jews and the Palestinians, will he at his prayer meeting this weekend talk about allowing the Jews to worship and pray on the Temple Mount? Or even talk about allowing the Jews to build their third temple? The Bible makes it very clear that temple will be built, and it looks like it may be built fairly soon. Everything is coming together. All the signs of the times are really starting to escalate. It is absolutely incredible. The hour we're living in, we're seeing signs of the times all around us every single day. Every sign that Jesus said would be here, signaling his return, are here. Make sure you're ready and keep looking up. God bless everyone.